Hey, what's up, everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. All right, there's so much on my mind, man. I don't know where I want to go with this. Um, I got the Kendrick Lamar concert on my mind. Just got through watching that about an hour ago and seeing all the, you know, the reactions on Twitter and stuff like that. It was a hell of a night for my city, man. The unity that we've been wanting to see since Nipsey Hussle's passing was once again displayed on that stage today. And it's funny because I woke up this morning not actually knowing that that was taking place, even though I had heard Kendrick was having a concert somewhere in the area. I didn't know it was today. Uh, and I just so happened to want to go see my mother today. She's buried across the street from the forum where that was taking place, uh, at the Inglewood Park Cemetery. So I was actually in the area. My spirit was calling for me to go over there today. I could have stayed in the area, but the concert, I didn't have no tickets for that. I don't know how much tickets cost, but it was a big, huge Juneteenth party taking place at Lamart Park as well. So I was all in the mix where all the good stuff was happening. Even though I didn't actually go to anything, I probably should have stuck around the area just to feel the vibes. But my spirit was just calling me to go to that area today regardless, and I just so happened to be in that area when all this was happening. So I missed the first half of the concert, but I did catch the second half and the 5 times They Not Like Us. I mean, the whole thing was really, really special. uh, I was moved by it, man. Being from this city, it means something different when you see a bunch of people from different sets all come together for a common cause, man, that ain't got nothing to do with death. You understand what I mean? A lot of people on those stage, I don't know those individuals, but I know this city, and not everybody on that stage has a good history with one another. But they were all coming together for, someone that was intentional on making peace tonight, and that's always big for my city, and it's big for the example that we want to show to other cities that don't really engage in peace too much. I think about places like Memphis and Chicago that need the example of what peace looks like. And maybe they'll call us soft today, but 20 years from now, when all that killing get old, 30 years from now, when all that killing get old, they'll understand where LA is with all of that. It's not that we soft, it's that we did it already. All that y'all doing right now, proving yourselves, we seen how that play out over time. We see what happens to everybody. We see what it really come down to. We see how it feels extended past just the era where you're going through it. It's not cool after a while. My city has shown the world what the gang life really about. All that stuff these cities want to do, trying to kill for fun and make fun of their ops and all that, it was done in the 80s and 70s, man. Here, we lost entire generations of people. If it wasn't to that, it was to the prison system. If it wasn't to the prison system, it was to the drugs and alcohol. So it's like, for us to come together in 2024 in a way like that, I hope rubs off on other communities where it's not as cool to come together right now, where they're still enamored with what we was enamored with back in the 80s and 70s. So that's important to me. I just love what my city's been on. I'm glad it happened this way. I'm glad that we continue to find talent that is so spectacular that it can draw us together on such a big platform. Bring all of our artists and everybody who probably didn't get a chance to get seen by everybody. A guy like Kendrick Lamar could put them on Amazon Prime on a Juneteenth. 17,000 people in the stadium, millions watching all over the globe. It's just spectacular. My city always never ceases to amaze me with the talent that comes out of here, man. It really don't. And I'm proud to be from this place. I want people to understand that. I represent LA everywhere I go. Every time I open up my mouth, I'm LA all day. My roots are not from here, but I am first generation Los Angeles. And I don't know nothing else. I'm just telling y'all right now, I don't know nothing else. My mother's from Frisco, California. My father's from Oklahoma. That's where all my roots are from, but I wasn't raised in those places, man. I was raised in this land right here, and I identify a great deal with what I saw on that stage today. I'm very proud of that. So that's what I want to say, man. Shout out to Kendrick. Shout out to everybody. And I did see a Kiefer out there on that in that crowd. Somebody was representing for Palestine, which is, I think, a very important thing right now. I would have loved to have seen Kendrick wear it or somebody on that stage, but there was somebody on that crowd that they made sure was on that camera, and I don't necessarily think that's by accident. But that's how it has to be. People have to be so covert about their support in certain arenas, in certain situations, or they get their voices taken away from them. Because, quite honestly, those who are in power to provide them the platforms are often, as we're finding out, individuals who oppose the justice that's needed. As many times in the past when justice was needed, it was those in control who opposed that justice. It's just what it's been in this country, and it's what it is in this world in a lot of cases today. So, I just wish that people were a bit more courageous as it pertains to standing out and supporting justice in that arena for which it is necessary today. And that's, I guess, where the next thought comes for me, shifting away from that. I was watching that, enjoyed that, and then I turned on my camera. I turned on my Instagram and saw what it was that I told y'all I hadn't seen earlier today, which was the horrific footage of the child that had half its head missing. And I told y'all a little earlier as I was walking down the street that I had yet to see that, because for whatever reason the algorithm hadn't put that on my Instagram. And 9 out of 10 times in this life I would probably say I'm very pleased to have not seen that. But when it comes to these type of images, I've seen so many of them, and it was almost curious to me why I hadn't seen any today. But when I got home after the concert, I saw it. And it was yet the worst thing I've seen. If I'm being completely honest with you, I didn't think it'd get much worse than what I had already seen, but that was grotesque, you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. That was absolutely gruesome and grotesque. I don't think the child is no older than 3 or 4 years old. And as the person was carrying them to the ambulance or wherever they were putting the bodies, because they were no longer, the sight will never be unseen, never be forgotten. I've seen all kinds of lost, you know what I mean, people who've no longer with us. I've seen so many kids, you know what I mean, without trying to get too colorful with my words. I've seen enough of that to no longer really be moved the same way, unfortunately. But I don't think anything tops that. That was the worst image I've ever seen in my life. And to think this is what, 250 days into this process. And I've been paying attention the whole time. And the worst thing I ever saw was seen tonight, which is another reason why I was compelled to turn this camera on, because you go from celebrating and laughing and dancing and throwing up W's for your city, and then in a matter of moments you see the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. And that sums up what our psyches are exposed to today in 2024. This is unlike a time that's ever been. It's a gift and a curse, man. I feel fortunate enough to be aware and I'm able to have the type of mind that can shift from one thing to the next without trying to protect my mind from it. I'm not one of those people that just can't stand to see horrible things like that. Maybe there's something wrong with me, you know what I mean? I have to ask myself if there's something really wrong with my brain to where I can shift back and forth without really being phased. But that's just what it is, man. I guess I'm wired for what we're doing, what we're dealing with here. And I just wish that there was a way to properly articulate how ridiculous that actually is. You know what I mean? Not just my intentions to tell you guys that I have a mind that can deal with that, but more so what it is that I saw. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that people are dealing with this in such a way where they don't care or they support it for some whatever choice of beliefs, it just shows you how distant we've been from truly knowing who's around us. That's what this does. It tells me that we can live and work and fraternize and support people and not realize how different their morality standards may be. And I've discussed this a lot on this channel, I think, over the last several months, in the sense that we've made it in our society, in America specifically, where we don't talk about politics without feeling like we're going to offend. We don't talk about religion without feeling like we're going to offend. And while that's something that we've adapted to and agreed it probably does offend if we bring about those conversations, what we don't realize is just how willing some of us are to allow certain things like this to occur, until you get to really see these certain situations take place, and then you start to see how different people react to it with one another. You got people like myself who want to discuss it. You got others who don't want to talk about it at all. You got people who support it and are not at all unhappy with this because of who it's being pointed at. It's like, who is this next to me? How many people have I been amongst in my life that smiled in my face, or that I may have had in my midst, that all of this time, this is how they viewed the world, to where people are beneath them, and that they are fine with the destruction of people's children if they deem those people terrorists. Like, that's what blows my mind. Like, I have a certain moral compass. I don't think it's cute at all to destroy people's families. I don't think it's cute at all to have a beef with a man and then want to hurt his child or his wife. And I know that in the streets, when you're talking about in the streets, a lot of that all bets off. You know what I mean? When you start dabbling in different arenas where people are doing things illegally and risking their lives and risking their freedom, then in that space, I don't expect a whole lot of morality. You know, I don't expect morality there. So if that's where I'm gonna be at, then I just assume that everybody's playing without rules. But when you talk about in the working sector, as you go about your life dealing with the public in regular situations where people are supposedly innocent and law-abiding, and then we got a large facet of those individuals in amongst us who actually believe that Palestinian children should die and suffer and be starved out, and that one Palestinian, one of their lives is worth 1,000 Palestinian lives. Like, how many people have I actually broken bread that actually believe that? And that it was never relevant to even have conversations where that would be revealed is unbelievable to me. You know what I mean? Like, people we see on television that we root for, sometimes they may be your analysts, they may be your commissioner, they may be your favorite actor. In a lot of cases, we're finding out that these people are people that we have grown to appreciate and love. I can't tell you how many people I've been a fan of that I've blocked just off of the strength of the movement of blocking celebrities who happen to support Israel. And you start to see, like, wow, the people who were in charge, the ones we were told we were never supposed to talk about, never supposed to question, these people believed so very strongly that they were so much more valuable than the people around them, and that they had a whole state where they came from all over the world to steal land from others. and treat the natives there poorly, just like America. Just like America was founded. It's literally 1776 in Palestine right now. And a lot of the people who are enabling that to be the case and funding that suffering are people that we celebrate, people that we vote for, people that we turn to for humanitarian leadership. And the fact that because we don't talk about politics, because we don't discuss religion, these people are people that have been able to hide amongst us as people who share the morality that we have. Only for something like this to occur and for us to be now made aware of what they're really about. And we're crying out, please save these children. And they're essentially saying they're not children, they're future terrorists. So therefore they deserve to starve. Like, if I would have known you were wired that way, I would have never celebrated you. I would have never broken bread with you. I would have never taken $1 from you or worked for you or brought you something as a server in your restaurant. I would have never looked at you with a certain level of respect that came from a certain class differential that you happen to have. Maybe revered you because you had a certain level of power and were over certain individuals that, quite frankly, I looked up to myself as they revered you as their bosses. If I would have known that you would have been so callous and cruel to people that you deemed your enemy for regardless of what reason, and so paranoid as to think that people who were not proving themselves to be after you needed to be attacked as if they were people who you've stolen everything from. And have labeled as individuals that have stolen everything from you. And the parallels of how my folks have been treated over the course of several centuries should have shown me that such things were possible. But to think that we were so far in the dark ages while thinking we were civilized and in modern times away from that type of treatment, since we had fought so hard throughout the course of the 50s and 60s for civil rights. So we thought everybody who was alive today at least was ready to capitulate to that across the board. But the reality was they were just willing to capitulate it to whatever was necessary today in this land. But they were secretly sending money to other lands to reinforce more of what it is that they were ultimately enforcing upon my ancestors. That realization makes me look at people differently. I don't know who supports what. I don't know how you look at me. Does one of your lives equal 20 or 30 of my people? I thought we were past that. But when I look at how you treat the Palestinians, I have to assume we're not past that at all. And so that's what this has really done for me. It's just made me wonder where I am. And it's made me understand where I am. The land was stolen. And this is what they hope Israel will look like, or the Middle East will look like 400 years from now. Slow progress, but colonizers being able to settle in, not be blamed for what their ancestors did. This is what the Zionists are hoping will take place later on. If they can't wipe out everybody, they'll make the Palestinians such a minority to where they have to fight 200 and 300 years for civil rights. After they finish torturing and bombing them to hell. Maybe they can send them to reservations, the few that survive, invest in their casinos and make money off of that. You understand what I'm trying to say? They've already done this, man. The case study was a success. It worked here. And so they're trying to take over the Middle East. And that's why it's so important for black people and brown people and those of native backgrounds who are not indoctrinated in the supremacy that is not their own, who are not okay with this, because there are a lot of them who are. They need to pay attention to this, because they know what happens next. They know what happens next because they've seen this movie already. Palestinians are the Native Americans, Palestinians are the blacks, and we've seen this movie before. We know what happens next. So that's what I'm saying, man. It's devastating to think that they're so far in the past as it pertains to how they treat these people, man. And it shows me that we're not too far away from that as we stand in the future right now. We're not too far away from that. The tactics, the gaslighting, the torture, mental hurdles that people have to go through, being put through, mental torture, all different types of just bullying, making people suffer, making people starve, all of that. These are tactics that have already been used. And it's hurtful to see these people going through the same thing that my ancestors went through, or in some cases worse. You know, it's crazy. I think about Haiti and how my ex-girlfriend's Haitian, and I've learned about some of their histories and how they had to fight for their freedom from the French, only to have to pay back the France for the lost slaves that they happened to be, because technically they were property, and so if they freed themselves, now they owe France money for that lost property. And that's kind of what left Haiti being poor, is that tab that France had over their head for the past 400 years for lost slavery. Like, the gall of these people. And to be aware of that as a black person, and to not have a problem with what we're seeing in Palestine as a different facet of that same energy does the same thing to a different people. And that's why I try to use my voice to wake people up, because that's the outrage that's necessary. It's not being shown because we're too busy doing other things. We're too busy not aware, too busy in, thinking about ourselves, enriched in what makes these people rich. We have got to become more informed about what's happening there. We have to, as a people. All of the minorities in this country need to become more informed about what's happening in occupied Palestine. And we are cultured in such a way to not think of those things because they're all in the category of politics, as we've talked about many times. It's politics. We're not interested in politics. I want to do what I do. My pastime, sports, music. I'm interested in making money. I got my own lifestyle. I'm in the dating scene or whatever it is. And that's how we operate. We're not interested in politics unless we're interested in politics. It's like another category. But it can't just be that anymore, because it's now needed that we pay attention to these things. Politics are not about partisanship in this country. It's about the broader scale of what this country and other countries that have done what this country has done are doing to someone right now. and now it's going to have to be people within this country that bring about enough resistance to what this country's government is trying to do to these people. That's about what this truly is about. It's not about politics and various different things that go on outside of our borders being things that only you're interested in if you're interested in politics, but more so the responsibility of those who've seen this movie before to help guide those who are going through this movie now. And if we're too selfish to do anything about it, then they will suffer what we suffer. And maybe they don't quote unquote land on their feet like we have. Maybe it don't play out that way. I just think a lot of things need to be normalized, and a lot of things that are in place to protect our minds from being quote unquote triggered are really things that are meant to protect those who will otherwise be held accountable for our free thought. And what we would be able to surmise once that free thought is laying eyes upon the actions that they are trying to hide in plain sight. That's why I don't trust, I can't say this word, or I don't trust, they don't want me to say that, because they are the bad guys in a lot of cases. It's being proven in this very situation. The very people we trusted to give us our news, owned by people who want to do these things to these people, horrible things to good people. They want to label these people bad people. They've had the eyes and minds of many people for years as they've smeared the image of people who were otherwise innocent or neutral, told us that they were terrorists. They did it to my people. They told you my people were terrorists. What we really were is just looking for some equality, looking for some decency and humanity pointed at us that quite honestly hadn't been pointed at us for as long as we had been here. You want to call us the worst guys in the world because we resisted the terrorism that was placed upon us. You called us terrorists because we didn't capitulate to the terrorism that was imposed upon us. It's the same thing they're doing to these folks over there. It's the same thing they're doing. It's the same thing they're doing. I don't see much of a difference between Hamas and the Black Panthers at all. No difference. It's a resistance to the occupation in place and the long sufferings of the people that have been dealing with it. Now the resistance is around and alive, and the occupation doesn't appreciate resistance naturally because it wants to live comfortably as it continues to terrorize those who they're doing this to. And dare you snap back at me for slapping you. Everybody who's watching me is going to hear me call you a terrorist, and they're going to believe me because I've had their attention for the last 400 years. I've had their hearts and their minds. They've trusted me, and I've told them about everybody, so they're definitely going to believe me when I tell them about you. This is what it is. That's the dynamic. And it's sad, man, because they're continuing to push forward the same way because not enough of us are waking up to that dynamic. Who they gonna do this to next? When they're done with the Palestinians, who they gonna turn their attention to? I'd imagine they're just gonna continue to spread out through the Middle East. They're already starting to get to Lebanon. They already, you know what I'm saying? They're already doing it. Hezbollah is the new one. Hezbollah is a resistance to the terrorism placed upon the Palestinian people from next door. They not with it. They don't like that you're blowing kids' heads off. They want to blow you away. If you don't start nothing, there ain't gonna be nothing. But because you need to occupy their land and do all this weird, twisted, horrible things that you do to these people, of course there's gonna be some resistance. So you label them Black Panthers, you label them terrorists, you call them Al-Qaeda, whatever you call them, I don't know. what the new word will be for your enemies of whom you want to torture first and not get any response from. That's what we do. We go around provoking everybody, provoking them to war, and then stand back under our flag and proclaim ourselves to be the good guys. But that's really all this country's ever really done, man. It's literally all it's ever done is provoke, torture, bomb, and wave a flag and pledge allegiance to ourselves or whatever. I mean, it's just... And they just continue to accumulate as many people along the way. You're under our flag, you're with us. Now go fight for us. It's like, what? No, I'm a victim here. My people were victims. We're the people you tortured. We're the people you stole from. You're the people you enslaved. I'm not trying to fight for you. I don't even want to see you win. You're the bad guy. That's proven in how you treated me. But under some warped propaganda, capitalistic sorcery, I'm just like fine with everything. It's all good because everybody's smiling, and it's been like this forever. Even though you paint me out to be a thug, I'm just gonna like resent that silently as I continue to live my life chasing my dollars, right? Like, that's my job. To live in a space where all of this is fine, value money over my precious time, and enjoy pastimes in the process of trying to make everybody but myself as wealthy as humanly possible, right? Paying into every bit of the corporations that ultimately send the money over to bomb these children. I mean, that's the way this goes. And I guess I'm not supposed to be able to think my way out of it or pray my way out of it, or I'm not wired for any of that. I haven't been wired for any of that in the 40 years of living that I've been doing. And so this is what I'm here to say, man. Where a lot of us, if not most of us, are under the sorcery. We feel obligated to make them wealthy. We will work, because if we don't work, we don't eat. And we will pay our taxes, because if we don't pay our taxes, we go to jail. And they're going to send that tax money everywhere but where it needs to go to help us. They're going to send it to Israel. They're going to send it to Ukraine. They're going to send our money any and everywhere, because that's just what these people do. And we're going to pick and choose between the two evil options we have, Bowser or Darth Vader, which one you want to run the country for the next 4 years. I mean, it's a tired loop that we're in. It's tired, man. And we accept the fact that we're marginalized into our little bubbles. My people are gangsters, my people are thugs, my people are institutionalized, and all these different things that we're just supposed to accept and try to rise our way out of by the way of capitalism. And if I work hard enough and I'm getting good enough with the Zionists, they'll pay me millions of dollars and I can rise to the top of this and be silent while they kill children just to keep it all together. The American dream. And then days like this come around, where I see a kid with half a head off, and I just say, nah, that didn't work for me, man. That I didn't buy it, and I don't like what it turns any of y'all, all of you, into when you capitulate to that crap. I don't like what it does to you, because you see stuff like what I saw today and you don't say nothing. I don't think that sorcery is any good for you. I don't think that guilt trip is any good for you. And it certainly isn't any good for the people who need you to speak up, speak out, and be courageous in the presence of this. It's unacceptable that you continue on this path. My name is Bdf 44. I thank you all for watching.